All right, good afternoon. We're doing electricity and barbering. So for barbers, it's in your 102B.10 on page 123. Cosmos, we are 4.2 in your Cosmetology Fundamentals, a Designer's Approach on page 97. Okay. So there's three kinds of electrical current. There's three different kinds of effects that we're going to have. The first one is going to be known as a heating effect. So with our heating effect, this is where every conductor has some resistance to the flow of current through it. The more resistance, the more the drag or friction in the line. The results increase. The results come from increased heat, is what it's saying. So a curling iron, a light bulb, a blow dryer, they're all heating because they have special conductors known as heating elements that heat up when current flows through them. A low setting simply cuts the amount of current allowed to pass through the special conductor, which would be your heating element. So blow dryers, some of them have a cool shot. Used to be, I remember when I was growing up, we had blow dryers, but we never had any extra buttons. It was just an on or off kind of switch. And they didn't have the little GFIs on the plugs. And I remember like being in middle school, trying to blow dry my hair, and the dryer would get so hot, it would just shut off. So you got like half dry hair, and it's just done till it cools off enough to where you could turn it back on. That was their safety mechanism. So, it didn't get so hot that it caught on fire, because apparently prior to that, people would put these hot dryers in a drawer or set it down, and it would, get so hot that it would start a fire. So I always thought that that was kind of different. I mean, they've came a long way. So that's your heating effect. The next one we have is the mechanical or magnetic effect. So the push-pull effect, the magnets, when you turn them one way, they repel, and you turn back and they go together. That's your push-pull effect. Causes the motors to run. These are usually done in clippers. Clippers. What the heck did I just read? Sorry. Massagers. Different types of electrodes used in facials. Usually these will come with some type of a positive or negative polarity. We don't see all that because it's inside the actual mechanism itself. So we're not seeing that it's giving that push and pull effect, but this is what's created when the negative and positive charges interact, and it's the motor. Sometimes you try on clippers and it goes cling. That's the magnetics there doing its work. So they do make those noises. And then we have electrochemical effects. These electrochemical effects is what happens when electric current passes through a water-based solution in order to produce a relaxing or stimulating effect, which would be on your skin. So that would be like an electrical facial. They have galvanic facials. That's probably the one they're talking about right there, is galvanic facials. There's also, like a blow dryer would be a combination of a heat also, because it generates airflow, but it's also part of the, generates heat and produces airflow. So they do call that combination, as well as a heating effect or a thermal effect. So those are the three types that we're going to be using. So within that, we have electrotherapy. Electrotherapy is a term that you're going to need to know. This is the application of special currents, also known as modalities, and they have these different effects on the skin. So you have galvanic current, which is really popular in the aesthetics world. You have faradic current. Faradic current is something that we need to know about, but it's something that we do not use. It's more of like a medical type of current. Well, in California, let's just say we can't use it. We have our sinusoidal current, which is another one in California that we cannot use, but we do learn about it. And we have Tesla current, which we can use Tesla. So out of those 4, there's only 2 that we can actually use within the state of California. But something that you should probably know is anyone that's getting any type of electrotherapy done, there are potential hazards that could happen. Like, you never want to use it over someone who has broken skin, like a scratch or a scrape. Anyone that has a sunburn, we never want to use any of this on someone with a sunburn. Anyone that's epileptic, has heart conditions, a pacemaker, pregnancy, there's a couple other ones too, but we always want to make sure that we're doing a thorough consultation so that we know if this could potentially harm someone or not, because we don't want to harm people, right? We sure do not want to harm people at all. So when we're using these, it's really important for us to really know what we're doing. So we're going to start with just, let's see, what does it say? Pregnancy, heart condition or pacemaker, epilepsy, high blood pressure, open cuts, abrasions and sores, diabetes, dilated capillaries, or metal plates. Yeah, metal plates is a good one too. I've had people with piercings before, like facial piercings or body piercings, saying that it didn't bother them. Braces also, or another one that, you know, the metal braces, that it didn't bother them. And then I've heard other people say that they felt it because it just conducted that electricity. So I think a lot of those are probably, depending what they're made out of. So that would definitely be something to have your client check with their physician about. Okay. So electrotherapy is any kind of a treatment that we do that uses electricity. Okay, the electrode is the actual apparatus that's touching the client, bringing the electricity to them. So it's the appliance current conductor used to bring the current from the appliance to the client's skin. So this is the thing we're going to use. That picture right there, it shows a rake. That rake is on the back of a high frequency machine. That, see, it's kind of purple there, so it's known as Tesla, or it's also known as violet ray. Those right there actually are very stimulating. It's almost kind of tingly when you use that particular thing on your scalp. The whole purpose of that is that it's supposed to be stimulating your scalp so that you're getting increased blood flow to your scalp and your hair. And it's led to believe that it could help your hair grow a little bit thicker or a little bit more if this is done regularly. So there's a comb, there's a rake. There's also like these rollers. They're like little roller balls. You can put it on your wrist. They do have carbon electrodes, but there's several different ones. There's like a mushroom one. There's just like a straight metal bar one. There's different ones that you could be using, but what they do is they use, you know, they plug it on the wall, so it's 120 volts, but the apparatus itself has like a converter thing on there to where it makes it safe for you to actually touch the client with it or touch it yourself, because yeah, we need to know that. They come in different sizes, they come in different styles, they always plug into the wall outlet. Let's see, it regulates the voltage so that, you know, we can touch it safely. And so remember, electrotherapy is anything that uses current, and electrode is the portion that actually touches the client. The high frequency machine is kind of fun to play with. Okay. So galvanic current is really popular with facials. It is a low voltage, high amperage current that forces solutions deeper into the skin. So, you know, our skin absorbs so much anyways, but with the use of this current, it actually makes it go a little bit deeper. So what you need with this is a converter, because it's going to convert our AC to DC. So it's going to be just a total direct current into your skin. So these solutions have, or they causes a chemical effect by passing current through alkaline solutions or by passing current through body tissues. Now you can do a lot with galvanic current. One way that you can use it is, let's say someone has a lot of blackheads on their nose and they want to get those extracted. So you place the solution, the alkaline solution, on the nose, you put the galvanic current on, you kind of rub it around on there till it softens up that tissue. And then you go to remove the blackheads. And then when you're finished, you actually use the galvanic current again, whether you're using it in a positive or a negative pole, and it will just sort of harden those tissues back up. And it has like a germicidal effect on the skin. So it's killing any bacteria or anything that might be on the skin to cause it to break out. Finally, this woman's here. She is the galvanic current expert here.
Okay,
so we're on galvanic.
All right.
I was telling them how the breaking down to remove the blackheads, and then hardening to put it back up. But I didn't say anything about the anodes or the cathodes or any of that.
Does that go through it in
So yeah.
Okay.
So that's all.
This is a great.
I started here.
Service.
This is where I'm at right here. So
okay. It's a great service for cleaning out blackheads, because sometimes the ones on the nose stay there for a long time and they don't soften enough just for the regular facial, I guess, to remove the impaction. So we can use electricity to soften it even more. So what it does is, the solution we use is an alkaline solution. It goes into the follicle, and think of, when we turn the electricity in, think of a tornado being an effect inside of that follicle, because the electricity makes it move like this, and it starts to dissolve that sebum that's stuck to the follicle wall that makes that blackhead. So you get all of that impaction out. Okay. Yeah. It is kind of cool, but they have to be a client that can take electricity. So that would be like no pregnancy.
Yeah,
no,
we don't have that.
Yeah, okay.
So we don't have that stuff.
All right.
So I was on pheresis.
Pheresis, okay. Back in the day, okay, way before even I got my license, all right, they didn't have products like we do today, okay? Most of our sun pigment clients will use,
see, I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. We'll use a product that's usually in the orange base, because every line kind of has the same kind of colors, but orange is usually used for pigmentation, which is the brown spots that we're trying to bleach up. So before that, they had this machine that they would use, and they would take an orange, all right, and here's the stem on can they see me? Okay, stem on this side. You're gonna slice it this way, all right? And then you're gonna put the other half onto the side. You're gonna take the electrode for the galvanic and puncture it through the skin of the orange. And then that side of the skin that's open of the orange, you're gonna put it onto the face and you're gonna move it around. Because of the acid that's in the orange, actually lightens up pigmentation marks or brown spots. So that's how they used to do it. Nowadays, we have products that do that all by itself and we don't have to work as hard. So pheresis basically means forcing an acid or an alkaline into the skin by applying current to the chemical. It's the most typical application of galvanic current, and it's referred to sometimes as bleaching of the skin in the method that I just gave you, okay? So pheresis, when we use it, we're using acids or alkalines. At that point, when you decide it's just an acid, it's going to be known as cataphoresis. If it's just an alkaline, it's going to be anaphoresis. Just an FYI. So if you see both of them in a question, it means pheresis. Okay, it's the general term. Okay, here's our anaphoresis and cataphoresis. Anaphoresis uses a negative pole to force alkaline solutions into the skin without breaking that skin. So what it's doing is going into the follicle, okay, melting that sebum, which they call saponification, I think that's the word for it, with your disincrustation solution, and it loosens it up, twirls it around so it pulls it from the walls, and it's easier for you to do like impaction removal afterwards.
Okay, so explain to them.
Wait, excuse me, are you guys like changing slides, because it's still on electricity and cosmetology?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
Where are you at?
Why this isn't working.
It just says 4.2 electricity and cosmetology.
Very beginning. Yeah, this thing.
So sorry.
Doing it
It's a lot
again.
easier to have me explain it than it is really to put it into your book in terms, because it doesn't make any sense when you look at how you have to do it from a book, to be honest with you. When you can see the results, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this all the time.
Okay, let's try this again. Let's see if cosmetology one just isn't moving. So let's try.
Hot in here.
Let's try the Barbary one. Because that
That's
one,
like 3 times the bless you. Choose at the back door.
I told you.
Then you said choose at the door, but I didn't know.
No, I didn't.
What'd you say? The back
Say
door?
back door.
No.
Let's try.
Are you in what? The men's?
Yeah, let's try barbering because the Cosmo one doesn't want to move the slides.
Well, you're in
Happened
cosmetology
twice.
now.
No, I'm in barbering now.
That says cosmetology though, right there. Right here, electricity and cosmetology. It's supposed to be barbering, I
That's
guess,
okay
huh?
because this is just the other one.
Okay,
That's
I just
fine.
wondered. I'm like, all
I
right.
didn't put the B, but that's fine because this is the cause. So
Okay. It's weird on cosmetology.
should be the same thing. Hopefully this will share.
The same information.
Oh, it's the same information. I'm just hoping the screen will share. All right, let's try this again and see what we can get.
Okay, what do you see on your screens?
Let me know if it moves.
Electricity and cosmetology and a T.
Is it moving?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Mechanical, chemical.
Red chemicals, I think, for galvanic chemicals.
Okay, we did the rake. Did the contraindications.
Galvanic
Okay,
current.
galvanic. We were on phoresis.
Those are electrodes, yeah.
Okay, so those are your electrodes there. Usually they have a black and a red
Like your
pole,
car.
just like your car jumper cables. Can you see that screen?
And there's a red and a black line up there on your screen? Anyone?
Yes, I forgot I was muted. Yes, I can see.
Yes.
Electrotherapy applicators, right? Is that what we're seeing? Electrotherapy applicators?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, so the anode and the cathode there, black is negative, red's positive, just like in your jumper cables. So these are the kind of things that you're going to need to know if you're using these machines to make sure that you're not crossing polarities or you're not shocking someone. Okay. So let's see, we're on phoresis. Okay, there's your anaphoresis and cataphoresis.
So let's just break it down so you can figure out what your notes are supposed to say, okay? So phoresis, the general term, it's forcing an acid or an alkaline into the skin by applying current to the chemical, okay? And then it says the bleaching of the skin, but really not just from phoresis, it's not bleaching, okay? We would have to have done a cataphoresis to bleach it. So anaphoresis and cataphoresis are actually the treatment we're giving that client, okay? I'm gonna give her an anaphoresis galvanic, which is the first part of the facial, and the second part is the cataphoresis. To not get you so confused, think of a facial. We always cleanse the face and then we tone it, correct? You know that's easy, right? Those two pieces. Well, anaphoresis and cataphoresis are doing the same thing, only you're using electricity. So the anaphoresis would be the soapy kind of part, I guess, the alkaline side, and the cataphoresis would work like a toner, okay? But you're using a tool like the electricity to get both of those to the face. That's all it is. I know it sounds like it's a lot more to understand, but it really isn't. It's just cleansing and toning. So cleansing, obviously, we're opening up that follicle, okay? And the cataphoresis part, we're closing it back down, okay? So anaphoresis, we've gotten that one, right? You understand that's the negative pole, all right? It's going to force a negatively charged or alkaline solution into the skin without breaking it. This method is used for the process called disincrustation. Okay, that's the solution that we're using, which is an alkaline-based solution, because alkaline will soften the follicle wall, okay, so that we can remove the impaction or the blackhead. Okay.
So disincrustation is the name of the solution that you put on the skin that like softens up those tissues so that you can get the blackheads out.
Okay, and the disincrustation solution, you can mix it yourself. It's like a gallon of water or something to like, I don't know, a couple of tablespoons. There's an actual formula in your textbook, but you're adding baking soda to it. That's all it is. It's baking soda and distilled water. All right, so once you applied it to the skin, you use your current and work around the areas where you want to do the extraction. So let's say the nose, the chin, and the forehead, all right? So once you've worked that product around and it's loosened it up, okay, you're gonna remove your tool that you use, your little electrode, all right, and you're gonna get ready and do your removal. So you're gonna actually remove the blackheads, okay? Then you're going to apply a treatment lotion to it, which we don't have a name for it, it's just a standard lotion. And then you're going to put on the toner, which is that cataphoresis, which is similar to a serum or something to close it back down again. And you're going to use the positive, which is known as that cataphoresis. That's the treatment you're giving her. You're closing it down. So it says it uses a positive pole this time, or an electrode to force positively charged or acidic solutions, okay, into the skin without breaking the skin. So the method is used for a process called iontophoresis. All right, that's the whole treatment for it. All right, it's used to infuse an acidic water-based solution deeper into the skin, deeper layers of the skin. So when we use serums on there, it's going to nourish that skin. Let's say somebody's very, very dry, okay? So not only did it close that skin down, but it actually nourished that skin, okay? So you have anaphoresis, all right, which is your soapy part, your alkaline part. To soften it up, you're gonna remove the blackhead, and then you're going to put the cataphoresis on there, all right? That's basically what it is. So on the acidic area, okay, it's gonna slow down the blood flow by contracting the vessels to decrease redness or inflammation. It's kind of funny because after you do extractions, you're expecting the face to be all red where you've worked, but it isn't red. When you use the cataphoresis afterwards, it calms the skin down. It doesn't even look like you've actually worked on those extractions, right? It's going to harden the tissue, like close it up, okay? And it's gonna soothe the nerves. So when you're using anaphoresis, all of those steps is going to be just the opposite, okay? Exactly the opposite. So I'm sure Ms. Connie had gone through what your electrodes were, right? An electrode is something that we use to get the tool of electricity to the client's face, because we can't put her face up to an outlet and say, here, electricity is going to be used on you. So we have a tool to do that. And the tools are called the anode and cathode. Okay, you remember that part? You talked about that, right?
No, I didn't get to that part.
Okay. All right, so we have two electrodes that we use to get that electricity there, okay? An anode and a cathode, all right? The anode is used for the cataphoresis, and the cathode is used for the anaphoresis. I'd like to draw a little picture up to help you remember it. Yes.
We can do this. Here, here's your picture.
Oh, here we go again. Okay, if you can actually see this written, it might make sense to you guys, okay? So she's gonna show me how to do this, all right? I'm gonna make a pH scale. Anybody remember a pH scale? Some of you do,
Some of them are really new, so they probably haven't had it yet.
Okay, so we're gonna do that little scale, all right? So this is 0 over here, and this is gonna be 14. So our pH is basically a 0 to 14. They are water-based solutions. 7 in the middle is gonna be distilled water, okay? So from 0 to 6.99, I guess, you could say this is gonna be your acid side, okay? And on this side, it's gonna be your alkaline side. All right, so on this side, we're gonna say this is the cataphoresis. I'm just gonna put that so you know what that is. Sorry, my writing is horrible.
It's hard on that thing.
Cataphoresis and anaphoresis on this side, okay? All right, so that's the treatment, right, that we're doing. So how am I gonna get that treatment to the client's skin is we're going to use those electrodes, and they're ODE on the end of electrode and ODE on the end of their names, cathode and anode. So they're always going to be opposites, okay? So if this is anaphoresis, this is going to be cathode, okay? This is cataphoresis, this is going to be anode, okay? Because they have opposites in order to attract each other and make that work, all right? I know my writing's horrible, but can you see what I'm doing here? Okay, when you're looking at solutions, the higher the number, the stronger the alkaline, okay? When you're looking at an acid, the lower the number, the stronger the acid. So what basically happens is, I don't want to hit you. If you start here at 7 and you go out this way, when my hand goes all the way to flat out like this, the strongest acid and the strongest alkaline. And when I add water to dilute it, it brings it up till it's just water now. Does that make sense? on your strengths of it, right? From 7 to 14 or from 0 to 7.
So if you're like this,
I hate to do it like that, but that's the easiest way to get somebody to understand what's going on. Okay, and it's not that hard. It just sounds really difficult in a textbook. It really does. So it confuses you. But what you're wanting to know is this. This side is going to open, and this side's going to close. Oops, close.
so soften and reharden.
Yeah, soften and harden. Okay, you can look at it that way. All right. The reason why I'm saying that is because the questions are put to you like this. If I'm using my anode, what treatment am I using? Am I using cataphoresis, anaphoresis, anode, or cathode? If I'm using the anode, that means I'm doing the cataphoresis. A way to remember, anaphoresis and alkaline are always on the same side, if you can remember those two, okay? Alkaline right here. And after that, you know they're opposites. So alkaline opposite is acidic or acid, okay? Anaphoresis and cataphoresis are opposites. Anode and cathode are opposites, okay? Open and closing, they're opposites. That's basically all they're asking about that, okay? To know that this is a direct current, okay? And the machine actually has an adapter in it so that we can use it as an alternating current, but it's the only machine out of all 4 that you're supposed to know that is direct current. The other 3 are alternating currents. Am I going too fast or messing you up? Does anybody understand what I just said?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Not really. I'm confused.
Learn this one because you said it rests, and one goes to sleep. The cat
I'm
goes to
kidding.
sleep.
I know the cat goes to sleep. Yeah.
Okay, so who had a question just now? I just didn't get to hear because Connie was talking.
Trees.
Okay, what did you say, hon?
I'm confused at what you're saying because on this side you have alkaline, and I don't know how to pronounce it.
Anaphoresis.
Yes, and you're saying that side is to open.
Yeah.
But then above it you have cathode, which is the complete opposite. So why? That's the part I'm confused about.
Okay, the cathode is the electrode that I'm using to do the anaphoresis. Okay, I didn't break it down. This one's actually phoresis. Okay, I'll put that whole thing.
That's the confusing part because it's called an anoid and a cathode.
But you know how to
and
remember?
then it's called anaphoresis and cataphoresis.
Cathode has.
So wait, hold on, because that's the part that's confusing. But they're actually hit the eraser.
I know.
They're actually opposites of each other. So if you have the cataphoresis, you're using the anoid electrode to do it. If you have the anaphoresis, you're using the cathode electrode to actually place it on the skin. And that's the part that always gets, you gotta hit the lines.
Oh,
That's the part that gets confusing. So you have to remember that cathode and cataphoresis are 2 different things. An anoid and anaphoresis are 2 different things.
I can't do it. Write ODE on the end of that. Okay. On each one of these, they're ODE. Just underline ODE.
Okay, yeah, that cleared it up.
ODE stands for electrode because electrode has ODE on the end of it. Okay, and the electrode is your tool. Okay, it's going to
So
look.
with the cathode, you're using the electrode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why it gets confusing.
Okay, and my writing is horrible, but yeah, the anaphoresis is the treatment we're giving her, and in order to do it, we have to have a tool to do it. So the tool is going to be opposite what the phoresis is. I always say anode can't go together, and cataphoresis and cathode can't go together. So they're the opposites. Anaphoresis will use cathode, and cataphoresis.
And with the anoid, what are you using to do it? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
That's actually the tool. It's an electrode. Okay, and that's why I wanted you to understand. Electrode has ODE on the end of it. So is cathode and anode, to help you remember that that's what it is. It looks like a pen. Okay.
All right.
All right.
And you just like rub it on the face.
Yeah, you put a little cotton on the end of it, and then you just draw it around like the face. It saturates the skin.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
part's
basically, yeah.
confusing. Even
know.
after all these years, I still have to sit there and like think about it because
And
it's confusing.
I try to make it easier, to make it simple, because I know in the textbook I didn't understand it. For years, believe it or not, I didn't. But once I understood that it was just opening and closing, like when we open a facial and cleanse it and tone it, it's the same thing, but we're using electricity now to do it. Okay. So on this side right here on your anaphoresis, the solution you're going to use is going to be disincrustation. You want to draw that part on the side.
Uses disincrustation solution. Get the pen back out. Oh man, I thought you were
I'm
done.
horrible at drawing. That's why you should just
I'm
draw.
not drawing, I'm just trying to write.
Okay.
So this side uses,
That side.
okay, so we'll just bring it over here.
Uh-huh.
Disincrustation. Disincrustation. Okay,
Solution.
D-I-S.
DES.
D-E-S.
Okay. Oh,
E-S.
yes. Solution.
I-N-C-R-U-S-T-A-T-I-O-N.
So just write the solution underneath it. Yeah. Okay.
So that's what you're taking your cathode,
Your cathode.
wrapped in cotton. You're dipping it into your disincrustation solution. You're using the process called anaphoresis, and you're rubbing it all around the skin for what, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
For 5 minutes, because that's softening up
The
all of that
follicle.
hardened, the follicle that's containing all of that hardened
Right,
sebum in there, which is oil, which is causing your blackhead.
Yep.
Then when you turn that off, you have like 5 minutes again to like squeeze all that out. Which it's way more complicated than just squeezing it out,
Yeah.
but we'll just use that as an example. Then when you're finished, you switch the polarity, right? Is this positive or negative?
That's negative.
So this
Okay.
is using a negative pole, is what they call it, because on the machine itself, it has like a little plus and minus symbol.
Or a red and a black.
Yeah, so when you're using that, you're using this side and this side. So this will be negative or black.
Mhm.
Okay, and this side will be
Red or
Positive.
yeah, or positive.
whole or red. Okay,
Okay, and this one's going to be called iontophoresis. I-O-N-T-O.
IONTOPHORESIS. So iontophoresis, and you do use a solution on this
Yeah,
side.
that's the solution, is the iontophoresis.
So what is what's the
Okay, it's a
solution?
serum, usually a serum.
Okay.
Or some type of a toner, that you're using.
A
but it's-
toner or
it's-
something,
yeah.
like
You're
a
penetrating the
antiseptic.
skin, yeah, to
So
nourish it.
now you're going to take, when you're finished with your extractions, then you're going to take your anoid wrapped in
Electrode.
cotton electrode,
It's a
right?
roller, actually.
Roller with your iontophoresis directly on the
Solution.
skin, and then you're just going to roll that
And that's this
all
treatment.
over. But on the machine itself, you're going to have to change your polarity to the positive pole or the red side to do
Sometimes
that.
they have a flipped switch, or sometimes you actually have to remove the electrodes and switch them the other way. So it just depends on the machine.
So again, no product knowledge, know your stuff.
So here's an easy way to do this, all right? Under your anaphoresis and cataphoresis, you're gonna write, that's my treatment that I'm giving my client, okay? That's the service that I'm doing, okay? My anode and my cathode are going to be my electrodes. That's how I get the electricity to that client's face, okay? The tool, all right? The solution, even though it's alkaline on this side, it's known as disincrustation, okay? So alkaline and disincrustation will be your solution. On this side, on the acid side, it's going to be iontophoresis and a serum, okay? So that's your solution.
Wait, I'm sorry. Just repeat the last part. The alkaline.
Okay, so alkaline and disincrustation are the solution you're using, okay, on the negative side. So I'm trying to get you to write solution next to it so you'll know what it actually is, okay? So you're gonna write disincrustation as /alkaline and then write solution. Okay. And that'll be your negative side, or black or minus, okay, if you're looking for that. We covered all of it, right? Cathode is your electrode that you're using, the tool to get the electricity to the client's face, right? All right, now go over to the other side and you're going to have your acid and your acid solution and your iontophoresis. That's going to be your solution, okay? Or your iontophoresis and serum is your solution, okay? Cataphoresis is the treatment I'm doing, okay? And the anode is going to be the electrode to get that electricity to her face. So I'm going to use the electrode like this, and I'm going to move it around her face, doing the cataphoresis treatment. Does that make sense now? You have to have a tool to do it. You have a treatment and you have a treatment solution. on both sides when you're opening and closing. And I can't tell if she can't understand me or not. I'm sorry, I can't see anybody really.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because if you need me to, I know, slow down and do it, because I get all excited when I do this stuff. I like electricity and chemicals.
I'm recording, so if I mean, I'd have to rewind back and look it over, then I will, but I get what you're saying now, more than I did before.
And you're going to do this more than once. You'll probably do like 3 or 4 times before you graduate. So by that time, you'll have it.
And sometimes once you see it, and then I'm actually explaining the words while I'm doing it, it makes it a little bit easier to understand. Even if you were getting the treatment yourself, okay, if you have blackheads and you want to be like a model, when we can do models, of course, for the skincare, but it's easier to understand it that way. Okay, we're just softening up the skin, removing the impaction or the blackhead, and then we're going to close it back down. That's all it is, but we're using electricity to do it. Okay. Makes sense now? No?
It's okay. I still have to hear it
That's
over
okay.
and over.
Yeah, we still work at it, all right?
And it's been a long time since Miss Janie taught this to me. And I've even taught it, and I still have to like study it before I do it.
I guess when you get to see the actual results on the skin, you're like, wow, that really made a difference. Okay. That's when you really think, okay, I can clean up acne on somebody really fast. But again, she has to be a candidate for electricity.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of stuff on that. So again, you know, we want to make sure we don't use it on anybody who has broken skin or any pregnancies,
diabetes, heart problems, pacemakers, remove all body piercing.
Sometimes body piercings, they don't feel it.
Oh, mine did. She jumped all over the table.
Braces.
Yeah. Earrings, sometimes they don't matter either.
Yeah, sometimes they don't.
Where are we going now?
Where are we at?
Oh, electric muscle
stimulation. I was going to.
That's yours.
That's Phrases.
Okay. Then it's that one's next. You get this one. The electro muscle stimulator.
Electro muscle stimulator. Okay.
Because in my department, it's the little, you know, electrodes you put on your tummy to make it feel like you've done 100 sit-ups while you're watching TV.
Yeah, so this is sporadic current. Like we don't use this in our state, like I said earlier. It's known as EMS. It's an electric muscle stimulator. So have you ever been to the doctor or into any like sports recovery or chiropractor or something, and they put those little, you know, electrodes on your skin, they hook those little wires up to it, then your muscles just kind of contract and jump all on its own? That's what they're using. They're using the sporadic current. So it's supposed to improve your blood circulation, help your muscle tone, help some stimulation of hair growth, increase, you know, all of your metabolism. And so it helps. I mean, it can be soothing or it can be stimulating, just depending on how high they turn that up. Those are all the things it's supposed to do. Sometimes they do it during, if you're doing like a facial, you know, underneath your chin and stuff right here to get that to tighten up, but we can't do it in this state. So that's just done in other states, but you just need to know that that's what it is.
You have to know what sporadic does.
What it does.
And then we can't use it in this state, along with sinusoidal also.
Yeah, well, they have a direct method. And this is the direct is the indirect is the most frequently used application. So what happens is like you hold the electrode or you wear like a wristband that's attached to it, but there's got to be water to conduct it. So it's usually like a wet piece of cotton or something that's stuck underneath that.
The electrode.
Yeah. And then the client, you know, will hold the second one and then you just massage and it like pulls the current through their body. You can actually place it directly on their skin, which is the direct method, like what they do with the chiropractors and doctors and things like that. But they have two methods. On a lot of these things, they have two methods, which is the direct method and the indirect method. So the direct method is where you're placing it, you know, directly on them. Skin. And then the indirect method is where they just like hold the electrode and then you stand behind them and do the massage or whatever you're doing, and it like pulls it through to your hands. So she feels your fingertips moving and the electricity coming through your fingertips. That actually feels kind of weird. You don't want to do tapotement because every time you touch her like this, you're shocking her. So you have to keep your hands completely on the skin and not lift up. It's really strange. I did it with the high frequency where I was holding the electrode like this and I was holding it in my hands. And then she got behind me and she started massaging my head and my head was like tingly. It was
Yeah, it kind of feels like when your foot starts to fall asleep. That
I
tingle.
didn't like that tingle at all, but yeah, it was kind of tingly.
The only thing they need to know basically is that we can't do it in the state of California because it contracts a muscle, and that's considered a medical device at that point.
Right. Oh my gosh, this is
What's this one? High
this is
frequency.
my favorite thing. Okay, come on back.
High frequency also has indirect. So you have 4 pieces of equipment that they will stick as your answer. You'll see high frequency, faradic, sinusoidal, and galvanic. And so they'll ask a question and every answer is going to have those 4. So you're going to have to pick which one goes to where. So there's an actual trick to learn this. If you see the word chemical and electricity in the same sentence, the answer is always going to be galvanic because it's chemically done, all right? If it says increased thermal action or a germicidal action, they're always referring to high frequency. Okay, if it causes a muscle contraction, it's going to be faradic. Okay, and the last one, I don't know if they've gone through sinusoidal.
No, it's also known as microcurrent.
It's deeper than the faradic, but it is the same thing.
A microcurrent or a sinusoidal is the same thing, and it's a very low level electricity. It's reported to help with circulation and cellular healing and reduction of pain and swelling. 1 or more electrodes is placed on the skin to transfer the microcurrent. They use them in facials to soften wrinkles, like rejuvenate skin.
They take 2 of them like this, and they're like putting them like right next to these parts of your face, and then they turn the current on, and then they go over to another muscle. So they have to have one on the top and one on the bottom of the current. But again, we can't use it.
We can't use it here. Yeah.
You can go to Reno and use it. Can't use it here though.
Yeah, our state does not allow us to use that. But what you need to know about microcurrent, if it's on a test, is that it is a weakened form of electricity that can go through there. Okay, Tesla's yours.
All right, so you've heard of Tesla cars, right? Okay, so Tesla actually invented this too. That's why it's called the high frequency or Tesla current. Its other name is known as the purple or the violet ray, okay? Not to be confused with ultraviolet, okay? Ultraviolet causes burning and tanning of the skin, where the violet, the reason why it's called violet is because the light that's inside of the glass electrode is sometimes purple, okay? So that's where they get it from, all right? It's depending on whether or not it's an argon gas or a neon gas. So alternating current, again, this is the one that can be adjusted to different voltages to produce heat. That's where I said if you knew they had heat in there or germicidal, it'll always refer back to high frequency. Okay, it says it's also known as the violet ray. It does not produce contractions. However, it does run at a high rate of what they call oscillation, which means it's a high rate of vibration. The rate is so high that you don't feel the contraction on there at all. Okay, so this one has a glass electrode as opposed to our galvanic with a metal electrode. All right. So you're going to get questions that ask you what is also known as the violet ray, what is also known as Tesla, and what is also known as high frequency. Okay, those are 3 different questions that they could ask. All right. This is because the Tesla current is a high oscillation current. It does not produce that muscle contraction where it starts to reflex. So you use the Tesla current for relaxation or stimulation depending on its application method. An application method means, am I doing the direct application or I'm doing indirect application, okay? So direct application, I'm gonna put it directly on my skin, but it's used on oily skin or for blackheads. You wanna clean that up, you wanna dry up a pimple, you're gonna use the direct application, okay? It's gonna clean up that bacteria, that germicidal. All right, if it's dry skin, you're gonna be using what's known as indirect application, okay? So that indirect, the client's going to be holding the electrode like this. Your fingertips are going to be on her face and the current gets turned on and you're just doing friction manipulations. You can't use any like lifting off at all or tapping. It has to just be friction movements. So somebody that has very, very dry skin, by me doing that type of massage on here, it actually pulls more oil to the surface of the skin and she gets to be a little bit less drier, okay? Where the other one will dry it up and you won't be so oily. But we like to do them right after like extractions with this machine because it will clear any bacteria that's left on the skin following that. Have you ever noticed when you've gotten a breakout and you try to remove the impaction yourself, the next day you have a couple more blackheads or pimples in that same area because that bacteria spread to the other parts of your face. So we use that high frequency to dry it up. Ashley, am I funny? What? I can see you now, huh? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sorry, I really wasn't paying attention to you. I'm not gonna lie. There was something else going on.
What? I couldn't hear you. I can't hear, so.
So something was going on.
Okay. So I just want you to understand what this machine is doing, okay? It'll either be stimulating or relaxing, depending on how we apply it to the skin, or what's known as the method of application. All right? So after what I just said, what type of skin am I treating when I'm using the direct application?
Oily skin.
Good. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying. All right, so here's the 3 methods they have used for you. The direct application, you're going to apply the electrode directly to the client's scalp or face. When you're doing hair, you can actually use it to make hair grow. So I've had a lot of girls that have removed most of their eyebrow. So we've actually used the high frequency on the outside of it to grow hair back on that eyebrow, okay? Just an FYI, as long as that bulb is still there, it might be dormant for a while, but I can get it stimulated again if it's still growing. It just lays dormant. If it's completely dead, then I wouldn't be able to bring it back. But you can use it on men where they have bald spots. Same thing can happen. All right, the indirect application, okay, the glass electrode is held by the client, okay, and you're going to manually stimulate the area being treated, okay, massaging that face using your friction manipulations, all right? You're going to turn off the current before you remove the glass electrode from the client. And the third method is general electrification, okay? And this is where the hand electrode, you hand the electrode to the client, okay, before activating the current. You're going to switch the power on. And this is what Miss Connie was talking about. It's a tingling or vibrating effect that's experienced by the client.
It's tingly, all right.
I think it reminds me of my foot falling asleep or something, you know, an area, that tingling kind of feeling that you feel. All right. So this goes through all of those 3 methods a little bit more. All right. To create the soothing or relaxing effects, again, the electrode must be kept in direct contact with the area being treated. To stimulate the area through rapid vibration, during a direct application, you're going to place gauze over the skin, especially in a treatment room because, Okay. In a treatment room, the skin's going to be damp. So if I put a glass electrode, it's going to drag on the skin, and I don't want it to drag. I want it to move lightly over it. So that's what the gauze is used for. So it will slide the electrode over her skin and not drag. Okay. So it's placed over their skin, and then the slight separation between the skin and the electrode. Sometimes it's called sparking, but you can actually take the electrode, and let's say I was just trying to get it next to my skin as close as I possibly can without touching it, and it will see a lightning bolt come across it. All right, the farther the distance, the longer or the larger the shock that's in there. Okay, we don't usually do this method at school or in the salons because if you're doing it, well, yeah, it's illegal, but it also leaves brown spots on the skin. So it will leave damage done to it if it's not done correctly. So what we do is we can actually take the gauze and fold it over a couple of layers like this, okay, one on top of the other, so that it leaves a gap between the skin and the electrode at that point. And you can use that method of sparking, okay? Because it's still touching the skin, but it's got that gap where the gauze was, all right? We use that just to go around a pimple to clean it up so it doesn't spread out any further.
It dries it up really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So instead of that pimple coming to a head and being pus, it's gonna be dried up. All right, Ms. Connie has something for you, I guess, your homework assignments? Does anybody have any questions regarding this electricity? Okay, anybody that's got blackheads they want removed, they're gonna be coming to me after we get back to school, I'm sure of it. You can watch the demo.
Okay, so we're gonna end right there, but for your homework assignment for today, look up either Tesla or Galvanic and send us in a fact that you found extremely interesting and the site where you actually found that fact. So you're either going to look up Tesla current or high frequency currents, the same thing, or galvanic current. And the site, wherever you found something interesting, send us in what you found with the site. And then that's your assignment for today. Okay?
Got it.
All right, great. So those of you that are staying on, go ahead and hang out with me here. Those of you that were on this morning, you don't need to stay on right now. And be sure to text your stuff in so that we can make sure we're giving you the correct amount of hours. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, let me stop this.